Hi, and welcome to Design It with Tammy Gibbs. I'm Tammy, and today we're going to be working in Artistly, and we're going to be working on prompting. This is going to be a great little prompting workshop, and we are going to be evaluating and looking at some different layering techniques. I do this a lot in a lot of the videos, but I've never really broken down what I'm doing, I don't think. So I'm going to try to slow down so that we discuss a little bit more fully how the order of your various different phrases and stuff that, like from the playbooks that you use, how they impact a prompt, and also, all the different layers that you can add to a prompt without overwhelming it, or at what point you overwhelm it, which a lot of times we don't know. We just have to trial and error kind of move the things around to get the look that we're looking for. That means adding things, taking away things sometimes if they're not working, substituting, different words to get the ultimate result that we want. So let's get started. We're going to just go into the Fast AI Image Designer. I'm going to go over to my designs, and I'm going to create a file just for this video. So I'm just going to call this styling video because this helps me keep those images separate so I don't have to go through all of the images when I want to download them or whatever. Okay, so let's just take a look. These are some images that I created in one of the previous videos that I did. So we're just going to kind of backtrack a little bit to look at styles. Some of these have some really beautiful styles. But what if we want to take those styles and we want to convert those into clip art images, let's say, because these are all really great for all sorts of other products, but they're a little bit busy for clip art. So let's start there. Let's start trying to analyze these these images and their prompts, and we'll go from there. Okay. So this was the rectangular bookmark shape, which that doesn't really define. I'm just going to copy this one because we're going to go in and we're going to try it in some different. This is using the Artistic Designer, and as we already know, the Artistic Designer tends to add a lot of shading, and that is not as good for clip art. So we either have to start with a fresh prompt and stay away from anything that can be considered shading, um, to use that one. And I have made some clip art with the Artistic Designer, and it's very pretty, but it's a whole different thing. So we're going to just play with the create from prompt, the just basic create from prompt, and see what we can do. I'm going to paste this in, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dissect this particular prompt. Okay, so right here we have a rectangular bookmark shaped image with a space in the center with the text, "Friends are the spice of life." And so I'm going to separate that so we can just look at it. Okay, so now, and I've got "and featuring." Okay, so that's kind of a separate term. And then I have this "infused with creative artistry and expressive brushwork and accentuated by dramatic and intense lighting effects, and with a mysterious and intriguing atmosphere and depicted in a delicate watercolor style and captured in a wide angle view." And then we have a theme, which is a harvest theme of pumpkins in various colors, corn stalks, and other elements symbolic of fall. And then we have colors: trending, autumn harvest, warmth, watercolor illustration, gentle flowing pigments with soft transitions. So, um, so we have all of these things sort of segmented. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to try fast and a high quality, and I'm going to leave it in this aspect ratio just to see what we come up with. And we have this broken up. So see, there's a space in between. So we're testing right now. We're just testing a theory. Because the simpler you can make prompting for yourself, then okay. So this is what it gave us. Okay, so it gave us the bookmark shape. Okay, so we don't really want the bookmark shape. So we're going to go back in and we're going to remove this off the whole thing. We're just going to leave it like this. Okay. We're going to do this one as the high quality one and just see what it does. Okay. So now we've got this image, which is actually very pretty. We still have a bit of shading behind here. So let's see if we can, breaking this apart like this does not appear to have changed the look. So we can do it like this. We're going to pull it back now and we're going to sample the difference between running it all together like this, which is normally the way I do it. Y'all know that. Y'all have watched me do it. But I'm always looking for simpler ways to do things, ways to keep it easier to do. We're going to do high quality again. And let's just test it. Let's see if the AI interprets it easier and gives a better image for all of it run together or separated by the individual phrasing, styling, the layers. Let's just see how Artistly interprets that. Okay. So I honestly don't really see, I think both of these images are very good. They're very similar. And, you know, it makes it a little easier. It's going to run it together. So like if you go in and copy it and paste it in from, from one to the other, unless you copy and paste from this screen, it's going to run it all together in the images. So now let's go in. We see that this is the way, that's very similar images. And so if it makes it easier for you, you can do that instead of like where we normally have the commas. If you want to break them down and do a little space, test it out and see if that makes it a little easier for you, especially if you're a beginner in prompting and everything's run together. It would definitely make it easier for you if you have them separated like this. If you want to change something, like if we want to change the theme, let's just try that. So let's change this to a Thanksgiving theme with a cornucopia and pumpkins. Okay, so let's just run that one, and I'm just kind of showing you how, if you're doing it like that, that might be a little bit easier for you, especially if you're a beginner in prompting. If you have the prompts separated like that, if the AI is going to interpret it the same way, it just make it easier for you to go in and edit out the things you don't want and add in the phrasing that you do want. Just like I said, that's just sort of a workflow kind of thing, and just something that when you're trying to wrap your mind around how those separate phrases or words or styles, how they work together, it may make it much easier for you to, like I said, work with it, build your cohesive products or images. See, this is very pretty. Now what we want to do is this, probably we're going to go and take all of these in, and I'm just for the sake of the video and just doing it quicker, I'm just going to take them into Canva and pull them in that way and remove the backgrounds rather than going through the whole bulk thing. We don't need to do that, demonstrate that. I'm just going to do it like this. So I'm going to upload those images that we just did. And for some reason, it only gave me 2 when I thought I told it to give me 3. But that's fine. Okay, so we're just going to drag this over, which is what I would do if I were working in my pack. And so this did pretty much remove the background. Let's do this one. And just do the background remover. Now, to use the background remover in Canva, you do have to have the pro version. I don't think it's available in the free version. But see, now this one did not do as clean because it has a lot of shading behind it. So let's try it in Pixel Cut because we just want to know how much we need to remove in Artistly. Let's go over here to my tools. Okay. So I think this is the one that had, let's see if it does it cleaner. It may remove. Okay, see, now this one took too much. So both of those images are going to be, I would say, risky. So let's go back into Artistly and see if we can clean them up so they don't have as much shading, because now these would be fine for stickers or something, but we want to prompt so that we get the white background and we don't have to deal with the other. Okay, so I'm going to use this version because it is broken down and separated. Okay, so the expressive brushwork, dramatic lighting effects. We're going to try just adding or moving this down. Okay, let's do this. Let's add to the top, to the front. Clipart. Isolated against a white background. Okay, so now we're going to and while that's doing, I just realized I did not put these in that folder, so I'm going to move those. Those first images. Okay. So it's a pretty image. Okay. So that one, I'm not sure. It's still got some shading. Let's test it out. I'll just put it over here because we can do it quickly. Okay, so now that one did, the shading that it did comes a lot cleaner. So that one is a cleaner version. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take that and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to copy this and we're going to go over to that other image, the one with just the pumpkins. This one. Okay. Let's go back to okay, so I'm going to break this one up. Let's see. Infused with creative artistry. Let's do. Okay, there we go. So we're going to paste this, do high quality. We're going to do 4 images and see what we get. Because that's one of the challenges is getting images that, now this is a very pretty image here. This is one that we didn't actually pull it in. While we're waiting on that, this is another productivity tip. Instead of sitting there and looking at Artistly, make your images, go do something else. I mean, really, go do something else because you're not being productive. It's like watching water boil. Okay, so now this one to me, I don't like all of these little things right here. So, and that's just the style. That's just I mean, it cleaned it very well, but it's very scattered here. So I'm not sure I would use that one. Let's go back. Okay, so now we've got these 4 images. And we can, this one has the most shading. This one's pretty good. This one's less shading, less shading. Let's see about this one. And that's fine. 1 out of 4, that's not going to be. And all of these have a little bit of this extra little stuff down here, which is fine. But let's take it into Canva and see what Canva does with it. It did remove it. Shh. Sorry. Let's go into Pixel Cut. Try that one. Okay, so either one are going to do them. Again, you could always edit out the little extras like here. In Canva, we do it this way. We just go in if we wanted to use it, and you could pretty easily get rid of the little extras that you don't like. I would probably remove the little tiny leaves. And again, one of my productivity tips is try really hard to prompt so that you don't have to do that. Use good background removers so you don't have to do that. But sometimes you want to use an image. So that's just another little productivity tip. Okay, so let's go back in. This one, would remove probably really easily. Let me refresh real quick. Okay. So we've managed to narrow it down quite a bit. Let's go with that one and this one. And let's see. What if it removes that really well? Now, see, that one did pretty good other than these little edge things right here, which I would just delete and get rid of. But that's a nice little cluster. It would probably be worth me doing that. And I probably would use that image. It's a good, clean image. Okay. It did away with all of the corn, though. Well, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong image. Okay. So we did, well, it still would have had to have gotten rid of the corn. Okay. So now we're going to regenerate this one. And we've got isolated, but let's remove this infused. Let's try it under fast and see what we get. Let's see if there's a big difference between the fast and the high quality. Sometimes there's not a lot of difference between them. I actually think that's a really pretty. Now, okay, so the things I'm not liking are the leaves, all the scattered leaves. So let's just see if we can add no, scattered leaves or shading in the background. This does not always work, but we can try it. Again, what our ultimate goal is to create a prompt that we get it where we want it, and then we will change the subject, we'll change the different things so that you can get more mileage out of that prompt. Okay, so that one actually added more leaves in there. So this is another, we can move this up to don't include any scattered leaves or shading in the background. Much better. And most of the leaves are now sort of, we've got a few leaves still here. So let's try one more time. Let's see if we can remove leaves because it may not understand scattered. And I still see a tiny bit of shading. Most of that shading you could remove. Still got some leaves. Okay. But that's actually a really pretty version. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to download that one, take it in, and see what sort of look we get. Okay, so now that one is pretty good. It removed a little too much, but this would be an image you could definitely use, and you could sit it inside some grass or some hay or something like that. So this would still be a really usable image. Okay, so I'm just going to download that one because that's real usable. Okay, so let's say we definitely want to try to use this one as is. Let's upload it into Canva because, again, I did a video on removing backgrounds and all that sort of thing. And the trick is that sometimes it takes more than one tool to do a really good job with that. Sometimes like this one, this background remover didn't take everything. It only took bits and pieces. So this actually you could still use. And just because it has the leaves, as long as they're sort of orderly, they may work for things. Somebody may even want those. If not, you could go back and you could dot, and remove just those few little leaves fairly quickly by using the magic eraser. Just dot, dot, dot. So minimal cleanup. And then you've got kind of a good little image. Now, you still see that there's some shading back here. So to me, that would be the worst part of that is this shading that's right here. And then it took everything whenever we ran it through that one. So let's go back. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take this prompt. We're going to copy it so that it's separated like that. And then we're going to run it through the version 4. That's just the standard version 4. That's not with the artistic. We're going to run it through the artistic as well. Okay. So you see, you can quickly see this is why people get discouraged, and this is why I'm showing you this. If you tried that prompt in this first, you would give up on the prompt because you would say, this is ugly. And this is what you get in the version 4 artistic version. So this one possibly, I could actually possibly use this one. Let me show you. Let's run it through Pixel Cut and see if it would remove clean. Okay, now see, I could use this one. Initially, when you look at it, it kind of looks weird, but I actually could use this one. So, okay. So let's go back over here. And since this one did yield a very interesting piece of clip art, let's regenerate it. Let's do 4 of them. And this was under the artistic. But now the plain one, ugly. Very ugly. In fact, I'm just going to delete this one because we don't even want that there. Taking up space. Okay. So, all right. I don't like this one. I don't like that one. So, what I'm sensing with this is the consistency is not there for us. So, I'm going to actually bulk delete these. And move on. I got one good. These are much more consistent. The ones with the regular version 5. But what can we do as far as the Illustrator? So let's start with the watercolor portrait because that one a lot of times renders some pretty good results for me. And we're still working with that same structure. Now we're working towards finding the best clip art for that particular prompt, like which one gives us the best results with the least amount of work, because that's kind of the mental thing you should be working and the boxes you need to tick off as you go along. Okay. So this one, I mean, it's a pretty image, but I'm pretty sure it's probably not going to background remove cleanly. Let's run it through and see. Let's test it. Actually, it did great. If you're looking for clip art in that style pumpkin with the way that watercolor looks, then that one removed it very cleanly, even though it was a very busy. Okay, so let's go back and test what different ones. Now we lost all the other stuff, but if we're just wanting some pumpkins for our pack, let me just refresh. Then let's go back in and let's regenerate 4 of those and see what sort of results we get. Okay, very busy, but the actual art on the pumpkins is actually pretty. So let's download this one. Take it back over in here. I'm not sure I downloaded that one, so let's download it before it's gone. And let's upload this one. Okay, so it's going to really take a lot of those away, but the pumpkins themselves are really pretty. They're very well done. Okay, we're going to do that. Then I'm going to go into Canva. Let's just try it and see what it does. Okay, so let's see what Canva's going to do, how it removes the background. Okay. It's very messy. So it's still going to be messy. And with this overly watercolory looking, I'm I'm not surprised. Some of those are just really difficult to remove. So we've seen Pixel Cut how it treats it. We've also seen how Canva treats that one. So Pixel Cut would be the option if you wanted to use that. And to get, I mean, I do love the treatment of the pumpkins and that it removes it because you can layer these pumpkins in. This would be a really good clip art pack with just the individual pumpkins. They could layer their corn stalks and their other things with it in their designs. So let's go back in and okay. So what we're going to do now is go back in with that same prompt and we're going to look at a different um, style. We're going to go up here to the watercolor inspired digital and we're going to try it. Okay. So now that is a very pretty image. So let's see how it cleans up. And I think that's part of the frustration that I sense with a lot of new and more seasoned designers is that when they create all these images, a lot of times, okay, so again, it's Pixel Cut's going to remove everything pretty much, except for it did not get that because that wasn't part of the thing. So, but again, that treatment of that prompt gives us pretty pumpkins. So, definitely some usable art there. Okay, so let's go in. Shh. Sorry. And let's see what Canva does with it. Sometimes Canva just, removes in a different way than Pixel Cut. Okay. So this one, excuse me, has a lot of shading in the background. So let's go back into our prompt. And let's look again. Again, this is like a lesson in troubleshooting through figuring out why. Okay. So let's see. Background, expressive brushwork, dramatic and intense lighting effects. Let's remove all that. Let's do expressive brushwork, but let's remove the lighting. Atmosphere depicted in delicate and captured in a wide angle view. Flowing pigments with soft transitions. Okay, so let's just try that. Now that's going to do in that watercolor inspired. Okay, still getting all that shading in the background, but the actual image is lovely. So if we could just get rid of that shading in the back. But this is even more vivid and pretty. Okay, so this one left more of it. There's still a few little doodads and everything because but it did leave more of the image that could be used. It still, to me, looks like it would be difficult to clean up. This is where you can go in on Pixel Cut, but I prefer doing that on Canva. So let's go and take that one in since Pixel Cut didn't take everything, and let's just see what Canva will do. Those look very similar, but they're not the same image. Okay, so this is that image. You see how rich and pretty that is? Okay, so that one really did not remove, I don't think it removed anything. Oh, it did. But you can see that it still has those areas right there. Okay. So now what we want to use this image, what are our options? And I have no idea what's going on with my screen here. Let's just, there we go. Sorry about that. So let's go back over here. Let's go to this image. And let's go into the human stylizer because we're looking about options, right? Troubleshooting options. This is the perfect. So do we completely give up on it, or do we try all of our options on it? In most cases, unless it was just a perfect, like you're doing a t-shirt or something and you want to make sure that you've got the right combination of elements, and so we're going to try remove the shaded background and see what the stylizer, how it treats it. Because actually that is almost as quick as doing it the other way, unless you're doing bulk, unless you're removing in bulk. Okay. So it actually did, but it looks to me like it changed a little bit of we've got the little outlines back here, but that's not shading. So it did kind of remove most of the shading. I think most of this is just remnants of the shadow that is on purpose, these little lighter elements. But we did keep some of the shading at the bottom, which is fine. But it looks to me like it may not have kept. This is a little glossier than this. So let's try it again and tell it to keep the same style. It looks like it changed it up a little bit. So keep the style, but remove the shadows and shading in the background. Okay, actually that one did not do as well. It actually kind of looped it in and put shading in, I believe, and it also changed our image completely. So I don't think that's going to work really well on this particular set of images. That's not the point. The point is you can run images when you run into an issue. You can run them through this process if you're trying to. And you can get different. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with this image. I just really like the depth of this, and this is very pretty. And to be honest, you probably could still use this one on a t-shirt or something, even with that little bit of shadowing in there. So, okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go back here and we're going to run it through not one of the watercolor styles, but one of the clip art style. And we're going to Now we're back to this. We didn't take the brushwork out and all that. So we're going to take it and sample through. I know I'm working with these pumpkins and everything because I know that all of you are probably working on seasonal things right now. So I'm trying to use seasonal examples. Okay, so here is the clip art style. And we're still getting the shading back here. But is it shading that will remove quicker? And, this is a pretty version. Let's regenerate it in a couple of, like, 4 images just to get the scope of what it's going to do under that setting. Because that is pretty. And then we'll test out the background removal. I feel like if I'm just doing pretty images, and in most of my videos I've done that maybe we haven't worked through those particular things of actually converting it over to clip art, or if you want something with that background removed. Okay, so we've got this one. And let's try this one. And let's try that one. We'll just go ahead and do them all. I think I've done that one. Okay, so let's go into Pixel Cut. I'm going to do these all at once just to save time. So we're going to go into the batch edit. And again, with Pixel Cut, I think I've mentioned before that Pixel Cut is great for doing batches, but it is the paid version. Okay, so Pixel Cut removed everything. So we could use this one and this one. That one has got a little edge around there. Okay, so I really wish Pixel Cut had a way that we could adjust, like, the strength of the background remover, so that, like a sliding scale where we could test it, and if we wanted everything removed but the main subject, we would press it all the way over or adjust it. But I'm not a developer, so I don't even know if that would be possible. So let's just take this image in Canva. And just like our AI, the same thing goes with the abilities of these different. Okay, so that didn't remove any of that. It did remove, it just didn't do it cleanly. So let's see. Let's try it with this one. Okay, that one didn't either. So that's just not removing very well at all. So now we go back to all of these can be used as stickers and other things. So they're not trash at all. They're very beautiful images. In fact, these would be great to do on note cards and maybe a calendar or something like that, where you could just use the whole image. But we also want to be able to make some clip art, right? Okay, so we're going to take that same prompt and we're going to test another one of our designers to see if that prompt will work somewhere else. So let's just go to the Mystic Fantasy. And then I'm going to do a little tweaking. Well, I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to come back and do some tweaking to that prompt. Okay. All right, so clip art isolated against a white background. Don't include. We're just going to remove that because that doesn't help anyway. Expressive brushwork. Mysterious, depicted in a delicate watercolor style. We're going to remove that completely, that whole entire thing. Harvest theme, pumpkins, corn stalks, symbolic of fall. We're just going to do the corn stalks. Trending colors. Watercolor illustration. Gentle flowing pigments. Soft transitions isolated against a white background. Okay, let's try that one. Okay, so now this is dark, it's rich. They've done it trying to get clip art. I'm going to regenerate this one and remove the clip art and see what we get from that one. Okay, now that still has all the expressive brushwork and all of that. Okay, so now this is what we get when we take all the other stuff out. And this one, I believe, may make a better clip art piece. And like I said before, sometimes you're removing things when you're creating your prompts. And sometimes you're adding. Okay. So again, it's removed too much in Pixel Cut. So you could still use these. They're actually very, very pretty and dimensional, but you just have to erase these things, which is fine. Let's go to Canva again, and let's see what it does. We're working our way towards trying to give you a better workflow. But I know that sometimes it doesn't work perfectly. Sometimes you want to get those dimensions and you want to use things. Okay, so let's just look. We can go in and look at it and see what it left and what it didn't. This one actually did remove most of what you would want it to do, but it left a lot of little trailing things. So really with this image, it would be better to use the Pixel Cut one and only have your pumpkins. Let's get back over here. Okay, same thing here. You get all of this, but you would want the pumpkins. Okay. So now we're going to look at this prompt again. We're also going to try it this way. Let's try, we're inside the illustrators, so let's test it to see if it likes everything together better. Because again, these are different generators. What worked in one may not be working in the other one. So let's see if it makes a difference. All of this is just the stuff I do. And this is how I come up with things, how I differentiate from one to the other, learn the different generators. That's an interesting one. We've got us a bird here. Let's regenerate it in one of the other styles. Let's just say the golden style. Now, do I think that this one actually did any better with it all being separated? I don't really see a whole lot of difference in that, honestly. So, okay. Okay, so golden style. It's pretty, but I'm not sure. Okay, my very favorites are still down here. I really like this one, which was done in the watercolor inspired digital design. I like these pumpkins. So I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to prompt for pumpkins. I'm removing all the other elements and we just want pumpkins. Okay, we still got some other elements, but we mainly got pumpkins. And we do have a really pretty watercolory style. Let's test this out. Not very pretty. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go into Canva. I am going to go into Canva, but what we're going to do is we're going to go in and try this bulk actions. I'm going to, let's do this one, and this one, and let's go down here to the ones I really liked, like that one. Okay. Okay. We're going to set it up just to do the background removal. So we can test Artistly. Do I expect this to work? I really don't, because normally Artistly does not. It removes too much or it doesn't remove enough. But we're going to test it while we take that image into Canva. Okay. So we're going to go in here. We're going to go to that one that we tested already in Pixel Cut. And we're going to remove the background. Now that one is much better, but as you see, there's a lot of little pieces around here that you'd have to clean up. Or that I would clean up. All these little odd things. Okay. So this is when we went into the bulk actions, and you can see that it did not really do a clean background removal. But it is very, very busy. And so here, yeah, it didn't do. But neither did the others. So in that respect, we're getting the same thing. This is a really good lesson about how busy your images are and how that's going to affect your clip art creation. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this one. I'm sorry, we're going to go to this one. We're going to regenerate it. And we're going to remove this and remove this. And we're also going to remove the harvest theme. Okay, trending harvest colors. We're going back down to really super simple. We are going to put, and instead of watercolor illustration, we're just going to put watercolor. Because illustration is one of those words, and forgive me for taking so long to get to these points, but it's kind of like the cause and effect, and understanding those, like for instance, if we're doing junk journals, then illustrative objects are fine because most of the time we're using them and we're not having to remove a background. But an illustration is more like a painting or, a book illustration. So most of the time you're not going to be removing the backgrounds. So sometimes illustration can put in a lot of extra elements that are not intended. They're intended to be interpreted like an illustration. They're not intended to have the background removed on them. So let's test this out. It's kind of like, stick with me, we're going to get there. Now, as you can see, this is a much more uniform with not a lot of extra elements, okay? And what did we do? The main thing we did was we pared it down. I'm pretty sure that this one will probably give us a pretty good clip art image. And we still have the good coloration. The style is still good. Let's try it. Maybe it's not going to remove what we don't want removed. Even that shading in the, there we go. Voila. Voila. Whatever. So now we have more of our clip art element. This right here, I don't know, that would bother me. I probably would do it, but it's not that big of a deal. But we still have the style, the coloring, the shading the way we wanted it to. Let's go back now and let's apply that to these styles here. We're going to go, oh, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. And I don't want to make that public, so we're going to make it private. I forgot that was the background removal one. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Yes, we're going to regenerate it. It's going to be in that same thing, but we're going to take all of this out. We're going to simplify it. We're going to remove all those extra elements. It's going to put some of those in, but it's going to do it itself rather than us prompting, so it has to do it. And all of that is good. The trending harvest warmth, the watercolor illustration. We're going to remove illustration. And now we're testing all of that. And as you see, it's much easier to change things if they are broken down like this. And I'm not going to do this with future videos. I'm probably going to do it the other way because I'll default back to the way I normally do it. But if you're newer, or if you are confused when you're utilizing your playbooks maybe for the first time or whatever, and you want to break it up, I do not see a recognizable difference in the quality of the image if you do break it up and do it on separate lines like this, so that you can go in and pick and choose and change them out easier, not as many commas, not as many things like that. Okay, so now this one is in, what is the Mystic Fantasy style. And much cleaner image, but we still have the pretty pumpkins. We still have that style, but now we have a very easy image to clean up for our clip art. And we even took out, we don't even have a reference to clip art, but removing that illustration from it, really, that one word made a huge difference in what we were getting. And these are just better for clip art, which clip art is meant to be layered and that sort of thing. So now this one is a little busier, but I actually think that it might still create a very cute clip art image because of the way that it is done. So it's either going to take all of that away, and we can test it, or either it's going to leave it and it'll be more uniform. Okay, so it just took it all away, so that's fine. These are gorgeous. These would be so pretty, to have those in a pack. And my computer's doing weird things. I have too many tabs open. There we go. Okay. So now, okay, let's see. Let's go in here. No, that's not the right one. thought I had downloaded that one, but I didn't. I wouldn't probably use that one. But this one is a nice little combination. If it'll leave those. Okay, so that's not bad. It's got a lot of little random things down here, but it still overall is a cute image. So I would probably use that one. Okay. So anyway, so we have come to the conclusion that by removing the illustration from there, it provided more of a clip art look. So let's go back to our beginnings. We're going to go way back here. Let's see, this one was done in the regular. Okay, let's go back. Okay, I need to find one that's the one that we had in the beginning. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave everything except for the illustration and see if that makes a difference. So we're testing again. We're going to do high quality. And we're in the version 5 rather than in the Illustrator now. So we just want to test whether we can leave all the other elements in there from way back in the beginning, that first prompt that we did, and what it's going to do. Okay, so not only do we need to remove the Illustrator, but we do need to remove, or illustration, sorry about that, but this infused, all of that. And we can remove the corn stalks and everything like we did with the other one. All the rest of it we can try keeping it the same and just see if it gives us a cleaner image for clip art. Okay. That is a cleaner image. It's got a few more dots and everything, but it's not as clean as the Illustrator images were. I'm not sure where my pixel cut went. I must have closed it by mistake. Pixel cut. Okay. So that did not clean as clearly. So tools. Okay. So by far, I think the best results were using the watercolor inspired digital style and paring it down to get the clip art. Okay. So this is very pared down. So does that mean we can't do the other? We can't enhance this prompt and still get good results? It doesn't. In fact, we can go in and we can, let's just go to the playbook and let's try changing the style a little bit. So why don't we do whimsical and do a children's book illustration? We don't really have a lot as far as the style goes. So let's go children's book illustration. We're going to put that on a separate line. And then we're going to build from there. Look how pretty that is. And now that should make good clip art and be fairly cleaned up. Okay, so let's go back in. Let's generate about 4 of these. And then we're going to change. I'm going to copy this because now we've got the children's book illustration. We're going to test out that edition from the playbook with the other ingredients, elements, phrases, whatever you want to call them. I do a lot of cake references. Okay. So these look pretty clean. This one is the least clean. It has a little bit more like shading around the background. I'm going to take it in but most of the rest of them are fairly clean. See, this one cleaned up really well right there. Okay, so we're going to go back and pull this one in because what we're ultimately after are images that clean well. Now that one actually cleaned everything up, but it is a very good image. So, and when I'm doing my clip art packs, I don't stress on things like that. Some of them are going to keep all those little elements and some of them are not. Some of them, if you really want them, you can try them in here, like we did before and see if it'll leave a little bit more of the stuff. But as long as it's a clean image, it doesn't really matter if it takes everything away from it because that is layerable. It's where people can actually use those elements for a lot of other things that they can't use the ones that have all the other little things on them. Now that one looks like it left a lot of the little details. So this way, and it did, it left a little bit too much of that shading and everything behind it. So I would not use this image this way. So, but, if you have one this right here is definitely a really good image for clip art. So, okay. So let's now go back in and what we're going to do is we're going to change it up and we're going to try it with those other styles. Okay. So we did that watercolor inspired digital art. We're going to try this one. We're just going to do one image with that storybook look. And then we're going to go back into the playbook and try out a couple of different styles to get different looks for our images. Because we're building from this. Okay. So now, I personally do not, I think this is a little too busy. It gave us a totally different look. I think these would be more usable for clip art. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in. And like I said, we're going to try this time the Mystic Fantasy since that gives us some richness. But Artistly itself is so good for this because most of your prompts you're going to be able to work through and figure out. Okay, so this one added some shading, but the shading is very light in the dark. I think it very light in the background, not the dark. So it has a good chance for clean, coming out clean. And as you do more and more prompts and more images, you'll begin to, okay, so now I was wrong. I was totally wrong on that. It removed too much there. Let's take it into Canva. And let's see if it does a better job of it. Okay, that one actually did a little bit better job. And it removed it pretty well. There's a little bit of remnants around here. Chances are you could probably prompt several of them and like across the scope, it may do a little bit better. Mystic Fantasy is really good for junk journaling because of the colors that it adds and everything, but for clip art, it's not going to be as good. Okay, so let's actually go in and use the clip art style up here, feature, and see how it interprets our prompt. I like the stacked right there. That's really pretty. Let's see if that one will remove. That would be really pretty with the stacked image. But it would have to take those. There we go. Now that actually is very pretty. So I would use that and probably will. Oh, look at that. So it interpreted it very differently under the clip art style. Okay. So let me just show you a couple of others that this clip art style here, there's actually two clip art styles. Okay. So this one, but see, you still want to be able to do some really good artistic style looks. So that's what you're going to be determining. And what I suggest is just taking a couple of hours sometime. Okay, so this one right here, it removed it, but it didn't do it very cleanly. So, but what I suggest is taking a couple of hours and then just testing. Get familiar. Go through some of this process we're going through to figure out with your particular styles, designs, and prompts, because you're going to have different orders. You're going to have different things than mine because they're going to be your own. So your looks, you may be after this more fun, loving clip art thing, look. You may be after something totally different. Just because I'm wondering if this is an outlier with it putting the face on it. Let's do 4 of those and see what it does across the because its interpretation of storybook illustration was different than all of the rest of them. And then we're going to move on to some, yes. Now see, these, I don't like that, but this one would be really good if it removes good. It would remove all those little things. Okay, so we still got some little dots and stuff, but I like these elements the way that is. So I would probably work with that image. I'm not sure how much of this it'll take away. So it cleaned that up very well. So that's good too. Okay, so let's go back in and let's go back to our playbook, and we're going to go to table of contents, and we're going to go to this botanical and nature. And we're going to add this realistic botanical. No, let's do this. Minimal botanical line art. Okay, so we're going to factor that in. So let's go back to just one of these. Okay, so we've got children's storybook. But we're going to do this just to see what a difference that's going to make. in the style. Look at that. Well, that's very pretty, and I believe that will be one that would be pretty clip art. Um, this one may take too much of it off, but let's just try it and see. It's what it identifies. See there? Perfect. Now that's a perfect image. Okay, so changing up from and this one is the Mystic Fantasy actually. Isn't that pretty? Let's see, let's just test and do 4 images to see what other pretty designs from that particular playbook image. I meant from the playbook phrasing, not image. Sorry, I got a little distracted. My dogs came back inside. Okay, so these are the images, and those are really good. I think those would all make really pretty clip art. This is got all the little dots and stuff, but I feel like since this one did clean, that we probably are going to have pretty good luck with this one. One of two things, it'll just remove it all, or it'll have the little dots and everything around. So I don't know. I mean, it did remove it, and it's pretty good. I don't know. It's a little busy for me, so I don't know whether I would include it or not. But out of those, this one should do fine. This one should do fine. That one's got the little dots around. So, as you generate more, you're going to get, pretty good results, I think, from that. Okay. And that was the Mystic one. So let's take now and move this over to one of the others. Let's do the watercolor portrait. And again, we've changed the phrasing and the style of the pumpkin. So that's the one that is always just giving us all this little background nonsense. They're very pretty for stickers and stuff, but they're very bad for our clip art. They're just not what we want for clip art, but let's see if it'll clean up clean. Because the actual pumpkins, and they're look, now see, that's good. That one came clean. So it removed all that, and it left us with these pretty watercolor pumpkins. These little things right here, I would probably leave them. They're just like little twigs, and I probably would leave them. And that's how it looked before. It did remove all these little things right here. Okay, so going back, let's go to this clip art style. But each one interprets everything differently. Now look at that. Now that is gorgeous. Shh. Sorry. Now this is very pretty. This would make really pretty clip art for a pack. And let's go in. And what I'm going to do next is when we look and see, we're testing this out. When we test it, okay, that's gorgeous. So I'm going to make a pack. So let's just say I'm going to do a 10 image pumpkin, or harvest kind of pack. So I'm going to do 5 of these images, or let's see, 4. I'll do 4 of these images. Okay, so let's go back in. We're going to go to this. We're going to do 4 images because that's how many we can do at one time. I'm going to do these. And then I'm going to, okay. So we've got all 4 of these. That one probably good. This one probably good. That one good. We have this one. So this one I may not do, but that's okay. So I've got 4 pumpkins. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and I am going to change it up and say, instead of pumpkins in various colors, what I'm going to do is say a wheelbarrow filled with pumpkins in various trending colors. Okay, so I've changed up the subject a little bit. So hopefully we'll get the same look, but we'll get a wheelbarrow filled with pumpkins. And I'm going to do 5 of those. 4 of those, sorry. Because we're now getting into an actual pack. So we're going to do basically like a 12 to 16 image pack. That's what we're going to try to do. Okay, very cute. And these should make pretty good. This one with all the little doodads so far away, I might end up eliminating that one. Let's change it up and say a wooden wagon. So a wooden wagon filled with pumpkins. And let's do 4 of those. But as we see, they're in the same style as what our pumpkins are, so they will make a good pack. Because we're leaving everything else the same except for the subject. Now those are really super cute in that little style. Okay, so what else can we do for our pack that would be really cool for this theme? What about some, for fall, let's see. Let's see. Fall flower patch. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but okay, so we've got some cute little flowers. And that, I kind of like those colors because it does pick up the colors of the more bluish colored pumpkins that is popular. Okay, this one will probably get eliminated. I think these may work. Let's regenerate and let's do something else to do with fall. Would be a basket full of pumpkins and gourds. And those are very pretty. So now we've got several different we've got like a whole image pack, and we could, starting from here and up, different items. So if we wanted to go back now and do some cornstalk, or maybe like hay bale. Hay bale, let's say a square hay bale with pumpkins and corn stalks. And then maybe we do a scarecrow. Okay, well, it didn't come out square, but those are still really cute. This one I would eliminate. This one, those are cool. I would probably generate a couple more, maybe. And we didn't really get corn stalks. Those aren't really, well, those are. Those are corn stalks. These back here you can't hardly tell. Okay, so now let's do a scarecrow. A cute scarecrow. And all of those were under the, now those are cute. I like this one. I like that one. This one's cute. This one I would eliminate. But those are cute. So now we've basically done a whole pack in just a few minutes. And then we could go ahead and, we could add other things if we wanted to. We could just do baskets. We could just do, any other little fall elements that we might want to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. And I hope that it's given you a little insight into, number one, what a difference it makes using the playbook and the different phrasing and how you can get these different looks. And then also how you can work through, we broke it down. We worked through the different versions. I showed you the long way around and then showed you how you can eliminate certain words and go back in and edit down to get different looks. So we started off with some beautiful images that would be great for anything that you don't have to remove a background. But if you want clip art, we worked our way to that as well, how to get the same style and look, but without all the extra busyness that doesn't make for good clip art. So thank you again for watching. I do hope that you learned something. And please like, subscribe, leave me a comment, give me ideas on videos you'd like to see. Be sure and check out the description. I always have lots of links down there for different things. If you don't have my playbooks and you don't have Artistly, I have links for those down as well. Join my newsletter, join my Facebook group for extra help. And those links are there as well. Those are free. They don't cost you anything to join those items. Also, if you are purchasing in the EU, please go to Gumroad. The code there currently, and I don't know when you're watching this if there will be a code, but right now I have a code. It's Summer50 for a discount on my playbooks. And on Etsy, there's a sale, so the price is reflected in the sale. If you want the Junk Journal edition, that one is only available on Gumroad. So if that's helpful to you. Artistly, you can use any codes that you might see. They typically will work with my affiliate link. And when you purchase my playbooks, when you use any of my links, my affiliate links for Artistly or any other products. I have one for Pixel Cut if you want to check out Pixel Cut. I do have a link there for that now as well. I do use it as I have demonstrated at this point. Now, when you're watching this, I know that they're working on refining the Artistly one, and I do use it for other things, and I have videos on doing that. So if you're interested, like I said, I do use Pixel Cut. It is handy for a lot of things because I can batch or bulk edit the backgrounds and the upscale and stuff like that. Now, Artistly is fantastic for converting to 300 DPI and doing the batch upscale as well. So But the background remover in Pixel Cut right now is one that I use a lot still. So thank you again. I know I've told you thank you like 3 times, but I can't tell you that enough for watching. And until next time, happy creating.